Nice of you to show up today, Blaine. Do you know where you're supposed to go?
I know where to go. Just
All right.
had a tough morning this morning.
Okay, great. Can you go get on the line? We're packing Honey Crisps today. You're like 15 minutes late. That's actually not normal for you at all. Is everything all right?
I've really had a hard morning this morning. I found out that my grandma's really sick. I just lost track of time.
Okay, well, we're all right. We're going to get you worked in if you're okay to stay at work. You can take a personal day if you need it. That you've got that coming to you. Do you want to stay today, or do you need a day just to take a little time off and reset?
I really appreciate the offer. I think at this point, I need something to keep my mind busy. So
okay.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Frontline Advantage. We're very excited to have two special guests today, Layci and Blaine, who are from Transcend Leadership Collective. They are also podcast hosts themselves and have a lot of experience with all this, but they're doing some fantastic work that we think aligns very well with the work we're all doing at Team Force AI. So without further ado, welcome Layci and welcome Blaine.
Thank you, Vivek. It's great to be here.
Yes, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here and be able to share what we're doing.
Well, fantastic. Why don't we start with that? Maybe Layci, you can talk a little bit about what you all do, and Blaine, sort of what attracted you to come on board recently and how things have been going.
Yeah. Okay. So what do we do? The short version is we help leaders figure out what it actually takes to be worthy of being followed. And our specialty in that education space, professional development space, we are really good at working with organizations that have a lot of fast-paced, deskless employees. So manufacturing, agriculture, retail, we've even had a little dabble in healthcare, people that are in these high pressure, high paced environments. How do you, in all of that, still put people first in that work environment, and understanding that connecting with the population and helping them understand how to have, as leaders of groups of people working in these intense environments, how to have honest communication, healthy conflict, and build cultures of acceptance, respect, and trust really are the underpinning to any level of success. You can have the best systems in the world. However, the human factor, those core skills of what we call HHART-First leadership, healthy conflict, honest communication, acceptance, respect, and trust, that is what not only experience, but research shows us changes the game and takes people to the next level.
And for myself, I've joined Transcend Leadership Collective in April 1st. So I'm the newbie on the group, but my leadership journey has spanned really about 18 years within the agricultural industry. So I was in retail, I was in fresh produce sales, and then I also did a stint at Walmart on the retail side as a buyer for apples, pears, and cherries globally. For me, I was I would say typical leader in the fact that I went from an individual contributor into a management position, but wasn't given any tools or skills to actually do that in an effective manner. And it's wildly different skill sets that you have to be a good and effective leader. But so many people get kicked into the deep end of the pool without floaties. And for me, I was a me searcher a majority of my career because I just figured out, hey, I've got to bootstrap this. I'll figure it out DIY. I mean, MacGyver it with bubblegum and duct tape if I have to figure out how to lead. But when I went to Walmart for a handful of years, I've got to see a wildly different view on leadership, let alone one that is very people-focused, people-centered. And I realized that there is a different way to lead than what I had seen or what had been modeled in my past. And that's what I really wanted to be. And so for me, I've gone through a few other trials and tribulations that ended up really me introducing myself to Layci in a time of need, because I ran into a situation where it was level 501 leadership and I could only DIY so much. So Layci was my executive coach, and it gave me another peek into the world of going, this is exactly what I saw and the kind of leadership that I wanted to be while at Walmart, but in an actionable way that we could deploy it to the masses and really spread this HHART-First leadership across the US and, take it globally. Because really, as Layci said, if we can have cultures of healthy conflict, honest communication, acceptance, respect, and trust, that is the true unlock for innovation. That is how we get to teams that are creative, that really work together. And it's just a flywheel in motion once you get that unlock. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and how I joined the Transcend team.
Well, that's wonderful. And I love some of the phrases that you all talked about, worthy of being followed as a leader rather than just as a manager and kind of commanding respect by title.
Right.
People first. We did a webinar with Nadine Mullings, who's on the people team, ultimately her boss being Donna Morris, who heads up the people team and the culture at Walmart. And it seems they really do try to live those values that you're talking about there. We deal a lot with deskless environments, as you mentioned, Layci, at the front line. And I want to kind of dive in a little bit on the HHART-First model.
Yeah.
Talk about how does that show up for a frontline supervisor or plant lead on a rough Tuesday morning?
Oh,
Take it from theory to actually make it visceral for a lot of people who want practical in the environments that we often serve.
Well, you got it. That's where we thrive, is let's show you how to actually not just talk about it, but how do we do it, right? So common scenario for just being human. You are the, we'll take it from the perspective of, you got someone who comes in really flustered and they show up late, and you can make it better or worse, but there's not a neutral. So that's one of the problems that we have as leaders, is so often we think if we say nothing, then that's better. Or if we make a joke, but not a funny joke, like nice of you to show up today kind of thing. Or they're carrying, a coffee, and did you bring enough for everybody? Which, is super annoying when someone shows up late and they have a coffee in hand. But I'm not going to spin a narrative that I know that they got that coffee and that's why they're late, right? It's tempting. So what do? How do we, in real life, handle these situations? Because also we know if they come onto the floor and they are just have this negative aura or this stressed out aura, that's infectious. It's infectious. And you don't want the whole line to pick that up. But you're also probably wrestling with, well, I also need to make an example, because I can't have people thinking that they can just show up late all the time. So you got all these factors at play. And we understand that and we get it. And we also understand in some environments, if they're late to shift change, it inconveniences everybody, because you have to do that. It always does. But even more so when you have to do a really detailed handoff, depending on the environment. So the first thing that we encourage is, as the leader, take a deep breath yourself and don't go in snarky. And recognize that if you're full of resentment and you're annoyed, they're going to read that, and it's only going to escalate an already tense situation. Now, you need to have accountability first as yourself to regulate. Take a deep breath, click that frontal cortex back on, recognize I'm irritated, but I can't respond out of that space of irritation. So that's step one, which sounds like I'm going to give you steps. Really, this all happens within milliseconds in your brain once it becomes habitual. It's it's a muscle. You got to work it out. You got to keep practicing. So you take that breath, and then you go, all right, I'm going to choose to not assume the worst, because we likely have spun some sort of narrative as to why we think this person is late. we've decided they don't care. They care more about coffee than their job. They're lazy. They're whatever. We likely have some sort of narrative playing. Recognize what it is and realize you probably don't actually know, and never make it about character. So accountability for yourself doesn't mean the other person doesn't also have it, and it doesn't mean there's not going to be responsibility. But it's first getting yourself in check so that you're in the space where you can have that interaction, and you're not going to escalate and embarrass them in front of their coworkers. You're not going to belittle them, but you also aren't going to just let it go, because you have to address it, right? So what we first, get yourself in check, make sure the tone that is going to come out in a way that is leading with curiosity. Hey, are you okay? If they're not someone that's habitually late, first thing you can ask them is, hey, did everything go okay? We miss you when you're not here on time. You got something happening? Like, are you all right? Is a good first question. If I came in because I popped a tire on the way, and the first thing they do is say, nice of you to show up when I have a coffee in hand, but I got that coffee before my tire popped, I'm not going to be very happy, right? So I'm going to feel just even more frustrated and like I'm just a number and you don't care about me.
So this is good. Can we take this and pull this thread? You know, what it reminds me of is those memes you see online with like the two castles and the grass and the forks, and you're like, do you take the positive route or do you take like this, you know? So let's pretend Blaine is someone who works at your plant, and she shows up late, because you're talking about it, and I think it's great. We're taking it from theory to practicality. Let's make it live.
All right.
You know, there's not many rehearsals. Okay. Let's pretend Blaine showed up, and I want you to demonstrate sort of maybe what the status quo is, or what the typical reaction you see in a lot of these environments. And we know how they often are. It's sort of like it's a tough environment, and you're sort of all the things you're talking about. And then I want you to show what Transcend educates and coaches and kind of helps create that change of how the situation would be handled. And then I want to hear from Blaine on how she feels and reacts to that based on those two different scenarios. So let's do scenario one. Let's just play it out. How do you typically see it happen?
So Blaine, you came in late. We'll just role play it for him.
Yep.
You came in. Here's a scenario. We're on a packing line. You came in late to the packing line. Things are humming. It's been shift change. You are, I don't know. You make up a scenario. You know the backstory. I don't know it. Okay. Are we ready?
Yep. Sounds good.
All right. So you're walking in, what should we say, 15 mintes late? Significant, but not an hour.
It already makes my chest tighten, but yes.
Yeah. Nice of you to come. So this is a don't do it way, right? Don't do it way. Don't do it this way first. Nice of you to show up today, Blaine. Do you know where you're supposed to go?
I know where to go. Just had a tough morning this morning.
Okay, great. Can you go get on the line? We're packing Honey Crisps today. We got a lot to do. We missed you. Go.
Okay. I'm off. Got it.
Yeah.
And Z, so you don't care about me, because I was just sitting here going, I had a really rough morning. I just reached out with a bit of connection, and it wasn't even acknowledged that there was something that I had going wrong. It just go on your way.
Yeah.
I don't like
that. I was curt, but I wasn't rude. I wasn't mean. I was just, quote unquote mean. I was just like, short business, go. We're urgent. We're popping. I got to run over here. Right? Like, my urgency, my shortness is not because I didn't care, but that's how she took it on. But in all likelihood, when you're running the line, you got to get back up on the catwalk, or you've got something that you've got to deal with in admin, and now you got to deal with this. And it's just one task that you want to get checked off and get them moving. And she doesn't know all of that or care, in all fairness to her. She just feels like I just completely dismissed her. Because I did. I didn't slow down enough.
And the story feels very real to me in that it's quite probably prevalent and common. Show us what the right way to do that, and then let's talk about the ramifications after we get an understanding too of how Blaine feels when it's conducted.
Absolutely.
The right way.
Okay. So reset and action. Scene. Here we go. Action. Blaine. Hey, are you okay? You're like 15 minutes late. That's actually not normal for you at all. Is everything all right?
Actually not. You know me. I hate being late. I think on time is a sense of late.
Yes.
So I appreciate the question. I've really had a hard morning this morning. I found out that my grandma's really sick.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just was weighing really heavy on me, and time. I just lost track of time.
Okay. Well, we're all right. We're going to get you worked in if you're okay to stay at work. You can take a personal day if you need it. That you've got that coming to you. Do you want to stay today, or do you need a day just to take a little time off and reset?
I really appreciate the offer. I think at this point, I need something to keep my mind busy. So
Okay.
I think I'm gonna jump on today, and if something changes, I'll definitely reach back out though.
Okay. Well, we're running honeys. I'm glad to know that I'm sorry to hear you had bad news. I want you to just take a deep breath. Roger is over there. He'll catch you up, and I'll send him a quick text and let him know you're on your way. And yeah, if anything changes or you decide this was a bad idea, I'll let Roger know the situation if that's okay with you, and connect with him, and we'll make sure you can get that PTO you need to get your day to reset your day if you need it. But yeah, sorry, awful morning. I'm sorry. I wish I could make it better for you.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. And just being open about it, and that accommodation is nice to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. And how does that make you feel, Blaine?
That makes me feel, I was like, that almost brought a tear to my eye, because I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I would have loved, like, so many situations that I've been in myself personally, or even as a leader, that I look back at and go, wow, that felt a lot better from my end. Feeling seen, understood, given options to what to do next. Even if it was, hey, do you need to be on a different area of the line that's a little less, intensive? Like even just those little accommodations, that felt nice. And it definitely meant a lot.
And go ahead, Layci.
I was going to say, and on my end, I would make sure as soon as she walked off that I was texting, or however we communicate, right? Making sure I'm connecting with Roger and saying, hey, she's headed your way. I know she's late. She's had a really rough morning. Be gentle today. Or whatever cue I know he's going to need to pick up and give her the reception that she needs. So I got to do that little piece of follow-up. So in reality, that took maybe twice as long as the, hey, go get on the line. But the little bit of extra work on the front saves so much on the back when you don't do it that way.
Well, I want to tie all that. So first of all, thank you for doing that. I think that's really helpful for people to get the feel. I could feel the difference. And I felt in scenario one, it's sort of what the status quo, the default is in so many manufacturing environments. Yeah. Talk about like the hard business results and the outcomes. So if you've got scenarios like we saw playing out repeatedly across an enterprise on a daily basis, what does that ultimately do from quantitative results that are probably being missed today in a lot of these environments that they don't even realize they're causing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll let Blaine speak to it as well, but immediately you're going to have a disengaged work. If you don't care about them, they don't care about you. They have no reason. If they don't believe that you like them, any employee doesn't believe that they're liked and cared about and that you actually see them as a person, they're not going to care about the work. They're going to show up and get their paycheck, but don't expect any desire to push harder when you've given them no reason to do it.
Yeah.
So productivity takes a huge hit.
And I think about that in just the regard of like, well, if they weren't curious or inquisitive about what was going on or asking that question, like they don't really care. So it's not going to prompt me to bring up an issue either.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Because it's just like, okay, if this is how things are going to be met, if I'm 15 minutes late, how am I going to be met if I bring up, hey, there's this challenge or there's this safety issue that's a concern that I want to voice, but if I've already seen this kind of response, I'm going to make up that. I'm going to make that story up for myself as well in that narrative that, it won't matter if I bring it up, or I'll get some backlash.
Yeah. I don't care enough. If she doesn't care about me, I'm not going to care about her, or they're always too busy anyway.
And also, if someone down the street offers me a job, and this is not the first time that I've been reacted to this way, or seen more likely also seen others be treated this way, then I'm more likely to jump ship too. So from an employee retention part, that's another area that's definitely.
And such a good point too, like Blaine, of if I've seen someone else get treated that way, like people are watching. There's ears. Her coworkers are going to know her story because somebody is going to ask her and she's going to say this. And then what's going to spread is that you were an absolute jerk when she showed up and you had all this going on and you didn't even care. Like that is the story that's going to get spun if you don't slow down just a little bit. When we say slow down in a manufacturing environment, those words can be terrifying. So maybe I should change my language. But when you don't take the moment to invest an extra 1 to 2 minutes in an I care about you check-in conversation, you're going to pay for it tenfold on the back end with extra time it now takes to clean up the mess or the lost productivity. You can lose, 2 extra minutes of productivity, or 2 extra minutes of productivity times the 20 people that saw that happen. And now they're also going to have lower productivity.
Yeah, I think what we're hitting on is this notion of trust, that once you see this breakdown, as you're talking about, Layci, it magnifies. Others see it as well. It has ramifications for the business as a whole in the longer term as well. We think about it, and why I like the alignment with one another. We've moved more toward kind of this notion of operational trust and intelligence. And we see a lot of the valuable work you all do on the ground. But if we paint a picture of the ramifications, if there's a breakdown in trust where people don't even feel comfortable telling the people the truth, I'm late, here's why I was late, then they don't open up on other aspects of the business. For example, if you ask an employee, now that the trust is broken, like say, Layci, we'll replay this. You're the boss. Blaine is your employee. She's had a bad experience with you. And you now ask her, did you skip any steps today? You were already late. I need you to hit production. Did you skip any steps? And Blaine says, no, I got you the output you needed because I needed to make up for stuff. Now, if Blaine had an opportunity anonymously and in sort of a trusted way to go up to something and say, did you skip a step? And Blaine could say, yes, I actually did. And maybe I skipped them because I needed to meet a production goal. Maybe I was worried about being reprimanded. Maybe I didn't think the step was important.
Right.
It creates this ripple where now eventually this organization, the one that in the scenario 1 that you played out, might face a product recall, might face a safety issue, and all because they've broken down that trust and not showed that they cared about the person in a moment that mattered. Right. So I want to just add on to everything you both are saying. Sometimes this notion of how we treat people in the moment may seem like something so isolated, but it's like the butterfly effect where it creates problems that continue to fester and that we just are completely becoming blind to because we've broken down the trust in that moment. So Blaine, you and I have talked about go-to-market, and I want to get your perspective now about almost coming up on 90 days in, and you completely understand the value, you understand the vision, you understand what the world needs. But we know selling into deskless, frontline heavy industries, very practical, very reactive, very conservative, very much this is the way it's always been done. So talk to us about how have you been able to effectively create movement and action to get organizations aligned to do the right thing that ultimately benefits them, but that they maybe have challenges on taking that action? What have you learned? What can you share with others on how to create positive change in the world and for this industry?
Yeah, I think you're definitely spot on. The industry and the areas that we're coming into, I mean, they're very fast paced. They're very go, go, go. And also just being able to get them to slow down for a minute and reflect on what is the status of the company right now. Is everything actually going as well as you would like it to be? It's been interesting within these first 90 days to figure this out. But one of the things that I've definitely recognized is just being cognizant that we can't help everyone. And that in the end, we can help support the companies and the executives that do see that there are challenges, but are too stretched to be able to like create actionable change on their own, or need that extra lift or that outside perspective. And so for us, it's been really helpful in narrowing down our scope and our view as to who is our ideal client, who will resonate the most with Transcend Leadership Collective's values and what we're trying to put forth. And for us, I would say from my experience in the agricultural industry, we're highly relational. We have to have trust when it comes to a sales department and the retailer or whoever is buying on the other side. And that's the area I've tapped into a lot, has been, produce is all about relationships. It's all about trust. And if you're trying to recruit a grower into your warehouse, or you're trying to sell your box of fruit to someone on the other end, this is just another layer, another toolkit to be able to amp up that trust internally, but also externally. And so that for me has been an area that I've been able to focus in on. Unfortunately, as we've talked about in the past, a lot of the times that we do see people come our way, it's because something has already happened that is like, oh gosh, now we need to stop the bleeding. Because it is that moment that shakes someone awake from the sleep that they've been in, thinking everything is fine. And so I think the other thing that I've been prompting a lot in the conversations that I've been having with people has been, what's the cost of inaction? So so many times we talk about, how much our services are, but let's look at it from another perspective. If you don't do anything today, what is the possible cost of inaction? If you invest in your people now, in a time where labor is already tight in a lot of these industries, the people are struggling to find good people to fill these seats, or people that are willing to upskill as technology evolves. What happens if you don't? Employee retention. Would you risk losing a person off of your team, a key player that is making maybe, I think from a sales perspective, $120,000 a year for just their position, but they're contributing far more to the overall business because you were trying to pinch pennies on that people investment side of the business? Like, how can we make sure that we create those communities and those cultures within these organizations to where people do feel valued? They do feel like that person, their leadership cares about them, let alone is investing in them and wants them to grow and be happy. And that I think is the area I've been focusing on, but it's an uphill battle. I know that it is, especially right now, there's a lot of push and pull that's happening in regards to just the people dynamic. A lot of people either saying, oh, you're replaceable, it's fine, or AI, I'm not going to need these people. And if you're going to treat your people like they're disposable, they're going to rise to that occasion, and they're going to put in that amount of effort for it. But if your people see that you are valuing them, that you want to do what's right, like, you will see that return.
We hear a lot of this narrative that, and it may not be direct, it may be more hinted at or subtle, that like, hey, I want to take a wait and see because of AI. And we first need to think if AI can do the job before we think about whether humans should be hired to do the job. And we have AI in our name. We see AI being something that actually helps humans, but the hysteria around like AI taking all these jobs right now, especially in a lot of these frontline type environments, is it may be at peak levels in the current moment of the hype cycle. So yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to deal with scenarios like that, or distractions where people maybe use those excuses from taking real action. I think structurally, the USA manufacturing sector compared with, say, Germany or what you see in Asia has just become a lot more reactive than proactive, and almost scared to do anything, and anything is seen as a nice to have. So what was happening in tech and how you treat your people, that's because they just produce a ton of profit, and these are all feel-good initiatives. But I think what we're trying to hit at here is these are not feel-good initiatives. These are initiatives that are actually good for your business. And if you can't understand that connection, that is on you. That is not on a flaw with the actual reality of like the way people should be treated. And by treating them in that way, you will have these better business outcomes. It's your lack of desire to want to understand, not anything that's presented to you that's not being sound or factually correct.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, as we touched on trust earlier too in our discussion, for AI adoption, or whatever that looks like for your company now, let alone in 5 to 10 years, there's a correlation between the level of trust that your employees have with their leadership and the adoption of AI within the organization. Because if your frontline workers don't trust your leadership in doing right by the humans and the people that are working there, they're going to drag their feet when it comes to any kind of AI adoption as well, because they're going to sit there and they're going to have that narrative that's in their mind of, oh, well, they're just going to try to replace me in the future. So why am I going to buy into this? Versus a healthy organization that is people-centered and then tech powered, or has the AI as a supporting role, but recognizes the importance of the people and all of the things that humans do that AI cannot do, or ways that we can pivot and think or be innovative, creative, all of these things. There's value in that. And when the company sees that value, but uses the AI and all of this as a tool, and it's all built on the bedrock of trust, that's when you get to have that innovation and that spike and that supported team that will do anything and will adopt anything, because they know it's a tool. It's not a weapon. And that is something that's been fascinating for me to watch as AI has progressed, and what the adoption looks like within these organizations that I've interfaced with for so many years. Because for us in the ag space, it's a bit behind the curve when it comes to tech adoption or AI adoption. And if we vilify it on top of that, and then we add it into a culture that is toxic or isn't supportive or people first, that's a powder keg. And that is going to end up being a slow path to obsolescence as your competitors around you figure out how to not only unlock the power of people, but also unlock the power of AI, and bring both of those things together in a productive way that's going to overall be a net positive for the business.
Well, fantastic. I want to thank Layci and you for coming on today, despite all our technical troubles that our wonderful editor will have an opportunity to piece this together. And I look forward to doing more great things together. So thank you so much, Blaine.